All right, guys, Merry Christmas. Today, I heard something from a close friend that I guess it intrigued me to do some more research. But basically, this friend told me that they think the minimum wage should be higher. And I 100% disagree. But you got to hear me out, guys. So stick around till the end. And I've got some Black Ops 3 Shadows of Evil gameplay going on in the background just to kind of keep you guys entertained. But anyway, let's cut to the chase. The minimum wage. So I live in Kansas, and the minimum wage as of today, 2025, is $7.25 an hour. So basically, what $7.25 an hour gets you is around, I'd say, about 14 grand per year. That's just kind of a rounded number, assuming you're working 40 hours per week. But I guess in my area, I've got a really good job, so I'm not complaining, but I live as cheap as possible. That is my motto. That is what I do. I basically just pay for, the cheapest apartment. I shop at Aldi and get the cheapest food. I never spend money on myself, and it costs me about $25,000 per year to live. So if I was making minimum wage, I would be about 11 grand short per year to live my life, which is 100% not doable. So I understand where my buddy was coming from when he said the minimum wage should be higher. I agree. But my perspective is that there should be no minimum wage. I think companies should not be bound by a number to offer people as a salary or an hourly wage to come work for them. I think what should happen is people should accept the dollar per hour or salary that allows them to live the life they want. So if I didn't have a college degree and I was looking, maybe I'm 18 years old, fresh out of high school, and I'm looking for a job, I'm going to calculate all of my expenses and I will not accept anything below, $25 an hour or whatever that wage should be. I don't know. I mean, it would be on a case per case basis, but when the minimum wage is $7.25 an hour, Joe Schmo's restaurant down the street, they are only going to hire for $7.25 an hour. But I guess for people in their 20s, 30s, or I guess whatever age range that's not living at home, they would not be able to accept that job. So if that company wanted higher skilled labor, older people, more trustworthy people beyond high schoolers, they'd be forced to start offering $25, $30 an hour to be able to hire people who are qualified for that job. So I don't think there should be a minimum wage. I think that Joe Schmo's restaurant should, in theory, be giving a salary or an hourly wage of what is expected of the role and what type of skill level they're looking for. If you want a high school worker as an employee, sure, go ahead, offer $5 an hour and see if anyone will bite. But chances are nobody will bite. But this is going to bring me to part 2 here, which is the real issue. $7.25 an hour, according to what inflation tells us, should be enough to live, but it's not. Rent is expensive, utilities are expensive, food is expensive, and I guess what this boils down to is corporate greed. So as we've seen in the stock market the last 3 to 5 years, is these big companies are bringing in absolute record profits every single year, which is totally unheard of. But what happens is these companies are raising their prices, not paying their workers anymore, and then they're just rolling in the dough as all this money starts flooding in. So, for example, my apartment complex, the fair rent in my area based on inflation should be about $500 per month. That $500 per month, assuming that all the apartments are taken or whatever, that should be able to pay the mortgage that the owner has on this complex. So when I come over here and they're charging $1,200 a month instead of $500 a month, that means that every month the owner is bringing in so much more money, and they're able to just rack that in because their mortgage and their expenses have been locked down for the last 30 years and have never changed. So these owners being greedy and just pulling in all this money are causing the normal people to be broke. Let's look at utilities. The price of excavating coal, right, to pay the workers to put gas in the machinery has pretty much been the same for the last decade. But they're taking this coal and they're selling it at an atrocious profit number to these power plant companies in order to produce the electricity. So in turn, the electricity becomes way more expensive, again, putting the burden on the people. Now, nothing changed here except that companies are charging more for their product for the same thing, and they're putting the price on the people. All right, one more example here, and then I'll stop my rant. But one big thing I've noticed is shrinkflation. So I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of this, but you're paying more money for products. Specifically, I guess in my example, retail products, you're paying more money than ever, but you're getting less product. So I guess, for example, it was my fiance's birthday last month, and I went to Walmart to go get some wrapping paper. So about 3, 4, 5 years ago, wrapping paper, you could get a whole roll of this stuff, and it was about $5 to $10, right? So in November, I went over to Walmart, bought some wrapping paper. I think it was, $5 or $6 per roll. So pretty typical priced. But when I opened the wrapping paper up, it had about 2 feet of wrapping paper in it. That was it. There's about 2 feet of paper, enough to wrap maybe one present that I bought her, and they're charging the normal price. And so I was kind of pissed. I went back to the store and I really took a deep look at that wrapping paper, the same one I bought. And I'm like, wait a minute, they're trying to cover this up. So they had some inserts on the top, so you really couldn't see how much paper was in it. And they made like the tube roll in the center a little bit thicker, so it felt like there was more paper in there. And you pay the normal price, you get home, you open it up, and there's nothing in there. So I think these 3 factors kind of put together: 1, corporate greed; 2, shrinkflation, and I don't even remember what the third one was, but we've talked about it. You can rewind the video if you want to hear it again. But basically, all these things put the pressure on each citizen in a country, in whatever. I mean, this is US based. I don't know what else is going on outside the US, but all of these things put together are causing the people to go poor. This, combined with companies not paying livable wages and able to, I guess, make up for this lost slack, this is what's causing the biggest problem right now. And so, hear me out. When I go to Starbucks and I pay $8 for one drink that cost you 50 cents to make, I expect all of that profit, or at least a large chunk of it, to go into paying your workers. So basically, whenever I drive past Starbucks, it doesn't matter if it's 6 a.m., 3 p.m., 7 p.m., there's always a line of cars. Starbucks is always raking in customers. And so when they operate for 1 hour, and let's say they serve, 40 or 50 customers, $7 a customer, they're bringing in, I don't even know the math, $350 in an hour. They pay their workers, $10 an hour times 3 workers. They are raking in the rest of that money as profit. Starbucks just raked in $320 every single hour because they're not paying their workers. Sure, I bet that's great for the owner of Starbucks, and I would love to rake in profits like that too as a business owner, but you need to pay your people. Triple their salary, at least. You will still be bringing in profits. I mean, it's just totally insane to me. Anyway, I'm going to get off my high horse here. If you made it to the end, I appreciate you guys for watching. Definitely let me know in the comments what you think of all this going on and if you agree with any of my points. But with that being said, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. I want these words to get out to more people, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.